Welcome to Hearts of Iron 4, and today we're going to try out the Black Ice mod for Hearts of Iron 4, of course. And the Black Ice mod is a legendary mod from the Hearts of Iron 3 days, whereas if you had learned Hearts of Iron 3, the micromanagement behemoth that it is, and found it to be too easy, you could just install Black Ice mod and you would have a massive challenge on your hands again. It would add a ton of depth and a ton of difficulty to the game. Currently, the Black Ice mod for Hearts of Iron 4 is in a bare bones state. It's been released not too long ago. It is almost at an early access stage, as in the mod is at an early stage. It is by no means done. Everything is subject to change and could change at any time. Just so you're aware, it could be updated any time of the week, multiple times a week. What do I know? In this video, we'll be going through the mod in broad strokes. What has the biggest changes and what to expect when installing it. And if you're interested in installing it, there will be a link in the description below, or you could just go to Hearts of Iron 4, the workshop section for it, search for Black Ice in one word and you'll find it as the first result. So we will head in, and for the mod's sake we will try out to be a bit of Germany, but then we will start a playthrough playing as France to get even more difficulty. So yeah, we'll be playing as Adolf Hitler here, no, not literally, but we'll select the country. And first of all, the difficulty here will be, well, the standard 3 difficulty levels, except that regular gives you some malluses here to production efficiency cap, research time, and political power gain. And the one here gives you bonuses, but either one gives the bonuses to the AI to make the AI a bit more competitive against you, because you're much better than the AI. You can think like a human, and well, the AI, obviously is a machine and is quite limited in what it can do. There's currently no difficulty level which gives no negatives to you, so you either have to play with, getting some bonuses or some negatives. So let's head in as Germany to show you what the mod has changed. And right from the start here, there's only some superficial changes that you can see. If you played with the NATO counters, not much has actually changed. These are, I would find the divisions easier to find, easier to see what they are, and that's a change that I like quite a bit. Other than that, I recommend, and the mod recommends, that you play with the NATO counters, and since that's what I already did, it's no big deal for me. But what has changed, and now we will go through them one by one. We will start with the German Reich. This has not been changed yet, but I'm assuming that it will be, adding more depth, I'm sure, at one point or another. But national focus trees for Germany has been updated, so here is quite a bit that has changed. You can, for example, add Schutzstaffel, and currently this takes 0 days to complete, or technically 1 day, since it needs to tick over to a new day. And then you can go through either picking the historical SS or the ahistorical SS and get different kinds of, like, you will get events and you will get some units from it, and also a template that you can use from here to train. Beyond that, the other ones have been expanded, the Luftwaffe, the Wehrmacht, and Göring 4-year plans that can add the Reichsautobahn and 1936 and so on industrial efforts that will culminate in the Wunderwaffe down here. So here, quite a bit has changed, been reworked. Currently, as far as I know, it's the Germans and the British that have been expanded the most. I'm sure the French have changed a little bit, but I only just barely looked at the French. And then we'll head into the research, and here is quite a big difference. I think the Germans start out with 4 research slots from the beginning, and could get a 5th, or something like that, or 6 was the maximum overall. But here you start with 6 right out of the gate, and there's been a lot more research that have been added. So here we are at the infantry, and from the beginning it's not too much have changed, but for example, uniforms, boots and helmets have changed, because that was not in the base game, and have been added alongside the infantry equipment that was standard before. And yeah, this just kind of drags on a little bit. And instead of just having Mountain Warfare 1 and 2, you also have here Mountain Warfare Equipment 2, and then you can upgrade further on. So a lot have been added to the infantry, and I'm sure a lot more will be added and fine-tuned as the mod goes along. The support battalions have mostly the same, but have been changed to being... Is it vertical now? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's vertical and not horizontal, as it was before. I'm pretty sure it was horizontal. either way, it doesn't matter. And here was one that I stumbled upon and was very confused in the beginning, because it looked like all the tanks here was, it needs generic armor. But the Germans have their own tree here with armor. So here in the generic armor you can upgrade your armored car units, your liaison vehicles, which I'm not really sure what it even does. Since, okay, we can look here. It gives something, I guess. Some units do need liaison vehicles anyway. And the armored car units. Those are, and the tankettes, of course. Those are what you can upgrade here for the Germans. If you're playing one of the ones that haven't been added, a separate tree for it yet, then you would have these ones. So the French, for example, have these ones so far. The French only have French air at the moment. The Soviets have added armor and air, and the Germans have the German air, Luftwaffe and Kriegsmarine. And I'm sure the other ones will be added, as the mod goes along and develops. So that was the first one that I stumbled upon that I was confused about. So if you want to research some German armor, here you have the German armor tree. With specific versions of the German armor with various kinds of medium and, light tanks here. So I think we will start out, for the sake of the argument, let's go for the Panzer IV. And that's the German armor. The artillery has been added quite a bit too as well. Instead of just having the artillery, now we have basic light artillery, basic medium artillery, and basic heavy artillery. Well, they will then be improved and advanced. Instead of having one, we have 3 different versions of it. And then we have anti-tank that devolves into, anti-tank and heavy anti-tank. And the same thing with anti-air, and then heavy anti-air. So there are different ones. And here we have the coastal artillery, which is new. That can be added as a support unit. That will, help out if you have them in coastlines and then can fire on ships that are outside the coast. And we have also railway artillery equipment, if you would need that. That I assume you could put on railways and bomb people from a long distance. The land doctrine is mostly unchanged. I'm pretty sure there's been one that's been added, but I'm not sure. I guess just because of this, I'm unsure what was in the original game and what was not, or in the base game. But now there's 4 trees anyway, and not much has changed for this yet. Here we have even legacy ships folders. I'm assuming that at one point or another the mod would support starting at a World War I stage, considering they've added 1896, 1908 and 1916 types of ships. So that seems like a possibility, future expansion if nothing else. And here we have naval stuff, which is, most of these ships will be what the Germans will use. The Kriegsmarine here is almost entirely submarines. Yeah, different kinds of subs that you can use, and also equipment for them, hull designs and submarine batteries and stuff like that. And this is, I assume due to the Kriegsmarine being quite focused on submarine warfare. And the naval doctrine is mostly the same as well. Air doctrine here, air, first of all, is the generic version as well, even though it's just called air here, and here it's called generic armor. But I'm assuming that will change as well. And here we have the Luftwaffe, where we can, choose between a lot of different kinds of airplanes, let's just say. And for example, here we can go for the Bayerische Flugzeugwerke 109A. Sure, we can upgrade that one. Does sound just fine by me. And the air is unchanged so far. Engineering is completely unchanged, as far as I can tell. It's pretty standard. But here is a massive difference from the base game. We have the concentrated and dispersed industry still, but here have been added different kinds of factories. So there will be, it's probably better to show that in construction. You will have truck factory, tank factory, artillery factory, small arms, uniform, munitions, light aircraft and heavy aircraft factories they can use. And I've been trying to learn what they do. What I'm assuming it does is they do not add to the military factories, but instead they lower the cost of the various things. So for example, if you have a number of munitions factories, it will lower the cost of munitions to be produced. I am uncertain if that is actually the case. So if anyone has better knowledge of what they do, then please correct me and leave a comment in the comment section below, because I could use the assistance. But that is at least what I assume those do. But one thing that I know for sure is that they do not add as a military factory, but they lower the cost of the unit, the type of unit they represent. Represent is a good word. Other than that, we have the usual tool maintenance and improved machine tools that will increase your production efficiency cap. And here we have construction, which has been expanded quite a lot. So for each level here you have defense works, infrastructural works, and civilian works that have various effects as well. And those will lead to things that increase entrenchment speed, factory output, and stuff like that. So it could be worth investing in. And then of course you have the resource gain efficiency bonuses you can get from that. Even added a steel mill, which is alongside the synthetic oil, which you can build here if you want to get some more steel. So you can add that besides, the synthetic oil refinery. And I'm assuming that is due to steel being concentrated in a few countries, so it could be useful for smaller countries, for example, to get some extra steel and not be as relying as much on trading for it. And another thing that has changed, as you could tell from the infantry stuff here being, quite a bit expanded, is the amount of things that units need in order to survive. So for example, if we look at this one, the standard infantry division uses anti-tank, horse artillery transport, artillery, medium artillery, infantry equipment, basic HQ equipment, uniforms, boots, helmets, transport vehicles, small liaison vehicles, support equipment, and recon infantry equipment. Thus, there's a lot more to produce in order to keep your divisions maintained. So currently, with all of this being added to the queue, we are still lacking some stuff. So the currently missing equipment production is small liaison vehicles. And you can just show here we have uniforms, boots, helmets, cavalry equipment, light infantry equipment, mountain warfare equipment, and so on, garrison maintenance. Yeah, there's a lot of things here that you will need to produce at the same time in order to keep your armies to be well supplied. And as it was small liaison vehicles that we're missing, so we should probably find that in the list here and add a factory to it. And currently all the factories are being used, so let's steal some for the garrison maintenance. We're getting quite a lot of that anyway. And of course the resources here are so far unchanged as well. So we need to get some rubber, some oil, and yeah, that's pretty much it for now. And we should probably just add, for the sake of the argument, some stuff here. So for example, we will go for concentrated industry, because who cares about bombers anyway. This is a bit too far away, but let's go for construction. And finally, let us take prefabrication, just to get everything done. And here for our national focus, we can go for the Göring 4-year plan, because why the hell not? And we need to add some templates to start producing units, and we will add some Panzer Division 1936 and some infantry divisions. And currently, or suddenly, we're missing equipment production again. And this time is anti-tank that is not being produced, so we need to add anti-tank. Anti-tank is in the bottom of the list, if I'm not incorrect. There it is. And then after that we need to add basic HQ equipment, which thankfully is pretty high up in the list. And after that we have recon infantry equipment. Recon... where did it go? It is somewhere around here. I'm sure of it. There, no, there's recon cavalry, recon infantry, there we go. And finally, motorcycle equipment. So you have a lot more things to keep in mind to produce at all times in order to keep all your soldiers and units maintained. And which also kind of puts an emphasis on that you really need to choose which kinds of units you want to produce and which types. Because, you know, for example, if you don't have any stuff to spare to make heavy artillery, for example, then perhaps not to add, I think it is coastal artillery battery uses coastal artillery uses coastal artillery, but there's some here that uses heavy artillery. I don't remember who. It's not the Grenzwacht, it is maybe Wachtruppen. No, but one of these, support heavy artillery for example. This one uses heavy artillery. And if nothing else that you use uses heavy artillery, then you don't really have any synergy effect. Whereas if you produce heavy artillery, you can do it for several different units at a time. So if you want to use support heavy artillery, then you have to make a choice, because then you need to add a different production line, you need to wait for it to, become more effective and be ordered to supply just one single type of unit. So perhaps you want to add that to different, things as well. So you have some sort of synergy effect. You can produce for different kinds at the same time. And then when you have it up and running, you could supply maybe your entire army with it. So choices like that is what it adds, a bit more strategic choice in your production equipment, or your equipment production, you could say. And I think that is a very interesting way of taking the base game, as in, this is probably the thing from the base game change from Hearts of Iron 3 that I like the most, being able to see what you're producing and how much of it, and allocating different factories to it. It is gratifying in a way to see that, oh well, I am currently producing 22 fighters at this given moment. It gives some sort of satisfaction, and be able to see logistics. It feels more like being in control of the army, more so than having to micromanage every single division or brigade of an army, and micromanaging every single bit of the daily affairs or day-to-day affairs to produce all the artillery and goods they need, and make sure that it reaches the front line. And expanding on that and adding more depth to that is definitely the way to go. But it can become overwhelming at the beginning when you realize, holy shit, I'm not producing anything at all, and yeah, I need to produce 15 times more stuff than I used to do before. So that's probably where the mod has changed the most. And they have also added more events along the way at different times that will give various bonuses. I played a bit with Germany just to get my bearings with the mod before making this video, and you will get certain events that will add divisions for you for free, as far as I am aware at least, to bolster your forces. And I'm assuming the enemy will get that even, for example, the Soviet Union, if you push for a certain amount, then suddenly units will spawn for the Soviet Union. I know the base mod did that in Hearts of Iron 3, even though I didn't play Hearts of Iron 3 myself. Well, not with that mod. Anyway. So yeah, this has been like the biggest changes to the Black Ice mod, and the things that you will have to pay attention to the most when you start out. But if you have a solid grip of Hearts of Iron 4, then, going for the Black Ice mod now at its early development, and when it hasn't changed too much, should be a seamless change from the base game. So I recommend giving it a shot if you're at all interested in the mod. As I said before, I will have a link in the description below for the mod in the Steam Workshop, or you could just go on the Hearts of Iron 4 on Steam, go for Browse Workshop, search for Black Ice in one single word, and it should be the first in the list. And if you do decide to pick up this mod, tell me about your experience with it. Tell me your stories on what happened in the mod, and write it in a comment below, and I will read it. I read all the comments and I respond to quite a few. So by all means, comment away with your experiences with the Black Ice mod. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Now I will jump in and do a playthrough of France with the Black Ice mod, and hopefully that will go well. So if you're interested in that, then by all means you have more stuff from Black Ice mod on this channel to look forward to. Until then, have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed. See you later.